Here we go. We're flying casual today. It is a Thursday edition of Flying Casual. I'm joined with Rob McDonald. Hello, Rob.
How's it going, James?
I'm doing amazing because we are about to talk about something that is going to get me super excited, and that is the spin off films coming to us from Disney and Lucasfilm and all those awesome kids over there making the crazy decisions. Obi-Wan Kenobi, are you excited for the Obi-Wan Kenobi film? Let's start off with that.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited for the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. It was the one that I think we most expected was going to be announced. Like out of all the ones that did get announced, this one was the most likely, I think. And we did top fives and stuff like that for the main show a few times where we were just talking about directors that we wanted to see do them. And it was like Obi-Wan was like one of the first ones that you almost even thought about like a director doing it. First, I guess, of what director doing it, just because of how likely it was that it was going to happen to begin with. So yeah, it's cool to happen that's happening, and it's gonna be even bigger. At this point, I just want to know like what the story's gonna be and what they're gonna do, if they're gonna leave Tatooine or if it's just gonna be Tatooine based. So yeah, it's an exciting thing to hear about that it's finally official.
I think we're going to see little baby Luke or a child Luke. I would like this to take place a little bit closer to Revenge of the Sith than A New Hope in a lot of
Yeah,
ways. I mean, I kind of want the last few years before the events of New Hope to happen to just be him being Ben, the old crazy hermit. But also, also though, Uncle Owen refers to him as the crazy old wizard, right? And so I wouldn't mind seeing some of that interaction where maybe Obi Wan wants to train Luke, and his uncle's like, nah, nah. And so I don't know why he would want to train Luke so much. Maybe for his own protection. Maybe he gets word that the Empire is looking for him, or that he finds out maybe that Boba Fett. Well, that's later on that Boba Fett discovers who he is. But there could be things like that that would happen. But I wouldn't mind seeing Obi Wan Ben use the Force and Uncle Owen witnessing it and not agreeing with it and really being like, "Look, I'm going to look after this kid. He's not your responsibility anymore. He's mine." Or even if Obi Wan kind of predicts like later on, I'm going to need him. I need to train him, and then Uncle Owen's like, "No."
no, yeah, it's like from what we know about Uncle Owen in like A New Hope, like the thing that seems very clear is that he's just so against the Force in some type of way, and so against like doing it. So like the fact that he has these lines on Anakin Skywalker, just the fact that to see like his progression as to why he would go to that direction, because I guess like in terms of what we know about the prequel trilogy, he didn't interact with Anakin all that much. He would just known everything he knows about him secondhand. And, perhaps he knows that he's Darth Vader and so forth, and that's just another reason why he would be that and excuse me, I apparently can't speak today. The antithesis. Okay, let's pretend I said it right. To Obi-Wan. So Obi-Wan wants to train him in the Force, and Uncle Owen does not. So excuse me a moment while I change my dentures.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I mean, there could even be an exchange where Obi Wan reveals that Anakin Skywalker was killed by Darth Vader to Uncle Owen, and then Uncle Owen could be like, "Well, are they going to come for us, or are they going to come for Luke?" And then Obi Wan would be like, "No, no," but Uncle Owen would never fully trust him in that respect. I mean, I mean, Joel Edgerton coming back in the role with Ewan McGregor, that could be a fun exchange. But I think just when does that take place? That could be at the beginning and the end of the film. But I think it would be cool if there was some sort of adventure before that, and like the film takes place not right after Revenge of the Sith, but closer to Revenge of the Sith. That way, old Ben can slowly become old crazy Ben later on, instead of like, oh, he's really cool. Like, why do people think he's old and crazy? Because that's one thing you have to remember is that he was in hiding for years, and it ends up only being 19 years in the grand scheme of it all. But when we first watched Star Wars, it felt like he was out there for 100 years. Like he's that old crazy guy that
Yeah.
nobody really understands. So that mystique, as even though it's only 19 years, that mystique still needs to kind of be there with him. And I hope that this film doesn't take away from that. That's really my only concern with the film. Because other than that, I'm really super excited to watch it. And I mean, if it ends up ruining that mystique, it'll be one of those things where I'm like, where I love the film, side Akbar, that sucked. But like, it won't.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it has no effect on as a standalone film, like this new apparently Batman film that has nothing to do with any of the other Batman films.
Apparently, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if it's like that, but not like that, then I'm okay with it because like if it's just a fun story, kind of like what I think Han Solo is going to be. We'll get into that a little bit later on, but I think like that is I'm okay with any story with Obi-Wan. Essentially, I would even love it if they did somebody. I think on our channel. Sorry, I'm not letting you talk at all. Somebody on our channel, talk to this point. Someone on our channel brought up, could it be a movie with a lot of flashbacks, like a Batman Begins style film, where you get to see him back in the prequel era days, so we can see him and Anakin interact, but then it kind of flows through and goes all the way up, so we see the missing pieces of the prequels or things that we didn't necessarily get to see, and then it goes up, and now we see where he is today as old Ben Kenobi.
Yeah, I mentioned that point actually on our May the 4th special that we did before too, about it being this split era, because the fact that like with Obi-Wan is that we know his Jedi times, and then we know his times leading up to his death, right? And the people think that a lot of times, like, that 20 years in between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope is that undiscovered time in the movie that you can only really do. But that other undiscovered past that he has is, how he would have joined the Jedi Order, how he would have met Qui-Gon Jinn, met Yoda, like done all that type of stuff. That's the other undiscovered past of Obi-Wan. So I think like that, almost like splitting it between the two, you could almost get away with the fact that, maybe it wouldn't make that much sense for Obi-Wan to leave Tatooine during that 20 years because he's supposed to be watching over Luke. So maybe your way of within this movie of getting off of Tatooine is through those flashbacks and getting that story told. And to add on to what you were mentioning with Luke and the fact that you might want to do a younger Luke in this movie is why it would make sense to be closer to Revenge of the Sith times than A New Hope is just you can literally just take a younger actor and take an actor that does not have to be compared to Mark Hamill. I mean, a lot of people rag about Mark Hamill's performance in A New Hope and even a little bit in Empire Strikes Back, but still, like, that's the actor that you think of as Luke Skywalker. And if you take somebody that just plays a younger version of him, you don't have to compare him that much, right? So as opposed to, casting a 15-year-old Luke Skywalker, which is only like 3 years away from where he was in A New Hope, you'd still be comparing him then. If you take a 10-year-old actor or younger, then, you can really distinguish the two.
Yeah, it's not like Han Solo where it's 30-year-old something character making him 20. It's literally a couple of years. So, and I think child Luke maybe looking on and witnessing old Ben from a distance, or maybe this movie is Luke Skywalker being told stories about crazy old Ben Kenobi.
Oh.
Maybe that's what this movie is. I have no idea. But let's move on to the Han Solo film because we know Obi-Wan's happening. We know Han Solo is happening. Is Jabba the Hutt going to appear in Han Solo?
Jabba the Hutt? Well, with the introduction of this movie, then, maybe. But I guess that would have to be a really quick reshoot that they would have to. So, I don't know. I would guess maybe a cameo or something like that. But if I was to say, like, this will be anything to resemble the Jabba the Hutt that we might get in this Jabba the Hutt movie, I would say no. I would say it'd be, if anything, just more closer to what we know about Jabba the Hutt. And, I can't wait to get to our Jabba the Hutt discussion because that's the most, exciting one almost in this type of way.
Well, that's what I'm going to lead into because what I'm thinking is I think when the Han Solo film, for me is, the thing with these spin-offs that everybody's complaining about, and again, we're going to talk about this in a little bit, is that people are like, it shrinks the universe, shrinks the universe, shrinks the universe. And Han Solo, people are like, well, I don't need a Han Solo film. A lot of people said that. I was kind of on board, and then I was like, you know what? I read the Han Solo books. Like, I went out of my way to read more about Han Solo. Why would I not want to watch a movie about Han Solo? And so a lot of me thinks that Han Solo is going to be kind of like that Batman film, where it's going to be its own thing. It'll be tied into the universe, obviously, but it'll be its own fun little adventure film. Where it's not going to expand the lore, which might disappoint a lot of people. But for me, if it's a fun adventure film, sci-fi, fantasy, all that jazz, and at the end of it, you're just like, that was a fun movie. I'm so happy. There's nothing, to me, absolutely nothing wrong with it. Because the way I look at Han Solo is when Disney bought Lucasfilm, they're like, we're going to make a universe, a Star Wars universe, kind of like the MCU, kind of like Marvel did. But Marvel has characters, like in comics over, 60, 70, 80 years, right?
Yep.
Star Wars, essentially what they're doing is they starting with Infinity War Part 2. Like they've already had Infinity War Part 2, that is Return of the Jedi. So now they're going back and they're going to give us Iron Man, Ant Man, Thor, all that in another kind of way that'll lead up into this. Not as many, obviously, but that's what Han Solo essentially. What I would look at Han Solo as being is Han Solo is their Iron Man, but unfortunately we're getting it, or fortunately, I mean we've got Star Wars, we're getting it after Infinity War and all that stuff. So after Return of the Jedi, so now we'll go back and we'll look at it, and that's how I looked at Han Solo. But now we can talk about Jabba the Hutt because I think Jabba the Hutt could play a part in a Han Solo film, even a very, like you said, a cameo, very very small part. So if he does that, and then then they're like, we're going to do a Jabba the Hutt standalone film. What were your first thoughts of a Jabba the Hutt standalone film?
Well, I mean, as soon as they announced this, I had the joke answer, and the one that I just kind of loved, that when we did that top 5 about directors we wanted to do a Star Wars movie, my joke answer was number 5, I think, and it was Quentin Tarantino doing a Jabba the Hutt movie, just because of how awesome that would be, and whatnot. Because Jabba's a cool character. I mean, I love Jabba. I know you love Jabba. There's a lot of things to like about it, because the thing about it is that people say that's shrinking the universe, right? But really, like, the fact that we're doing a Jabba the Hutt movie doesn't mean that we're just shrinking the universe because it's about a character that we already know. It's about the fact that Jabba's an underground gangster, right? He's a gangster. And have we done a Star Wars gangster movie? No, there's been like Clone Wars episodes that's been like similar to that, or like even Rebels episodes that were similar to that. But it's still going to this undiscovered territory. And I think the thing about expanding the universe also is with shows like Rebels and Clone Wars is that, especially Clone Wars, is that you went into the show because you knew Obi-Wan, you knew Anakin, you knew Yoda, all those characters, right? Those were characters that you knew from the prequels. And then in that show, it expanded the universe and showed you all these types of new characters. Freaking Saw Gerrera was in Clone Wars, and because he was in Clone Wars, in a way he moved over to Rogue One. Like you got Cad Bane, so many fan favorite characters came out of that. So how can you say that really that's making the universe smaller? I think that's greatly expanding the universe with all these characters, and the fact that you get all these characters that have been introduced that you can put in other movies. And even in the case of Cad Bane, there's a small group of people that actually want a Cad Bane movie, or a big part of Cad Bane within a movie is pretty huge. So yeah, doing a Jabba the Hutt movie, I think is a pretty damn good idea. I think it can be very risky, but also at the same time very expansive, even though the fact that it's just under the guise of a Jabba the Hutt movie, a character that we already know right now.
Yeah, exactly. My feeling on the Jabba the Hutt film is, again, just like Han Solo, I read the Jabba the Hutt's Tales from Jabba's Palace book. There's a lot you could do with Jabba the Hutt. Like you said, the underworld of Star Wars we have not had explored, and mainstream, really, like in terms, like in film, we have not seen it very much, other than the Return of the Jedi and how Han Solo did it. So if you put him in Han Solo, then you can have his own film, and then in his film you can have Boba Fett, Cad Bane, all of these cool characters in the background doing little things, working for him. You can create a brand new character that we have not met before, kind of like they did in the comic. I mentioned this with Andrew a couple days ago, like with Dr. Aphra. You could throw Dr. Aphra style character in this Jabba the Hutt movie. Then the next one you do is your Boba Fett film, but then that character can be in that film as well. And then all of a sudden, this is a character that you can bank off of going forward. And then the next movie can be that character. And
Yeah.
all of these standalones, including the Han Solo film, if you put Jabba in Han Solo, the Han Solo film, Jabba the Hutt, Boba Fett, Cad Bane, Dr. Aphra, whatever, all these books can end up all being tied together, kind of like the MCU is. But instead of the after credits, and again, I said this with Andrew, instead of it being the after credit scenes, it could be during the film. They tie together during the film in whatever way. And I mentioned this, I did an article for Dead and Nerds, I'm not sure if it's up yet, but I don't know if anyone's read The Outsiders or That Was Then, This Is Now. But Pony Boy shows up, and That Was Then, This Is Now, and it kind of, and you're like, oh, it ties it all together, and so he has nothing to do with it, but he's there, and there's a purpose for it. And I think that's a perfect way for them to do these films. And then you always feel like, well, how's this person going to tie into this? And then all of a sudden at the end, a bunch of the new characters can team up, Avengers, and go on their own adventure together.
No, yeah. I mean, just the fact that, yeah, like you said, that you just tie in, like, start interweaving little, like, stitches in with everything is just kind of like, yeah, this cool way of interweaving it into the story, into the big larger story of what Star Wars is, along with telling this standalone story that just fits in on its own and stands on its own, that people could just enjoy in that way. So yeah, it's a very interesting way, and I wouldn't even to an extent be surprised if maybe in some way this Jabba movie turns into this Jabba Boba Fett movie. Maybe it's going to be both of them. Maybe in some way they'll decide to combine the two, but I don't know. Maybe they could just split them up. But obviously those are two characters that are fairly intertwined into each other. So if they, like you said, if they did a Boba Fett movie first, or if they did plan on doing two movies, then the Boba Fett movie first and then introduce Jabba in that type of way, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the way he would start getting intertwined with Jabba, and then perhaps in the Jabba movie, Boba Fett would just be a strong presence in that movie as well. So to an extent, that would almost be its own trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. This could be their next saga while they figure out what they want to do long term is just make these spin-off films tie into each other. And yeah, if you start with Boba Fett, you start with Jabba, whatever it is, they can easily interact with one another, and you can interact with another character that you want to go forward with, and whatnot. So I think, the people making the decisions are a lot smarter than us, supposedly. I think they're in good hands. The thing that would make me nervous is when you look at the Han Solo film, and obviously Han Solo is a different, you can't go forward with Han Solo. You have to go backwards with Han Solo. So it is sort of a Han Solo origin tale of sorts. If they, but we've already had the Boba Fett origin. We've already had Obi-Wan, kind of an Obi-Wan origin. We've already seen enough early Obi-Wan, right? The Jabba the Hutt, however, what if they did a how he became the big gangster story? Would you still be on board with the Jabba the Hutt film?
I mean, that's about, just going back to the gangster type of sense. Like, if we're talking about doing literally a Jabba the Hutt movie, except Jabba the Hutt is Michael Corleone from The Godfather, I mean, that could be pretty crazy. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know what this movie would really look like. That's why it's so enticing to me, because is it going to be all subtitles, or how's that going to work? But regardless, just telling the story as to perhaps this lower level gangster, and then just rising the ranks, and then just creating this huge empire of bounty hunters that just is essentially hired for almost every type of scenario, like whatever it is. Like Darth Vader, literally, Empire Strikes Back takes five of Jabba the Hutt's bounty hunters to use them because they're the best of the best, because he's the number one guy. He is the monopoly in terms of bounty hunter,
And
like
you just said it.
gangsters.
You could throw Darth Vader into a Jabba the Hutt movie
And
because,
there you go.
because the Jabba the Hutt film could theoretically take place during the events of A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and if that's the case, Vader has to show up, and
Yeah.
Vader could be like, "I want your best bounty hunters, fight me." There's an amazing scene where Vader just kills everybody except for those five.
Just kills them all.
Yeah,
he kills Greedo's brother at some
yeah.
point in it too.
Brito, it's Brito.
Greedo, there you go.
Brito's his brother.
No, yeah, like that just excites me too. Just the fact that knowing what type of character Jabba is in Return of the Jedi, like how cocky he is, and how he would, to the thought of how he would react to seeing Darth Vader and meeting Darth Vader for the first time. It's literally like these two like head honchos who think they're the biggest fishes in the pond, going head to head with one another, right? And like how that type of how they would play off of each other, and how that scene would work would be very interesting to me.
It's even a great way to put someone like Prince Zizor back into the fold.
Oh yeah, yeah. Shizor, maybe even if there's a part that takes place before Rogue One, put in Tarkin, or possibly even Ben Mendelsohn as well. So yeah.
Yeah, they could do so. Yeah, imagine if Krennic was able to come back. He could bring
Yeah.
apparently you can bring Tarkin back any way you want now. They have full control over that. I don't think you should overuse any of those characters. So I think, to be personally honest, I really like Director Krennic, but I think I think that's his one shot. I think that was it for him. That's his beginning. That's his end. We've got enough credit. There's no need to milk that too much. And maybe he shows up at Rebels. I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, like, yeah, there could be like scenes and stuff like that. That's what I'm just getting at with Krennic is that there could be scenes that could still be seen, like with him perhaps meeting the Emperor at some point or whatnot. Just getting further into the dynamic between the characters. Because really, the only like people they use really butting heads with in Rogue One were Tarkin and to a lesser extent Vader. But still, there's an interesting dynamic with him and perhaps the rest of the Imperials that could still be explored with Krennic, I think.
Well, I think we could see a lot of cool new Imperials show up, but maybe they'll show up in the Han Solo film. I don't think they have. I don't know what role, other than what we just spoke about, that the Jabba the Hutt film could have with the Empire. Boba Fett could be hired by the Empire, which technically I guess he was with Darth Vader, but I mean, early on he could be hired, much like in Battlefront, where they're like, we just hired the bounty hunter Boba Fett. You could do that. But I don't know how like. They have to look at this world and they have to decide what matters in the world. And it's looking like Jedi aren't mattering too much in the world. But for me, Star Wars is very much a Jedi. Like what makes Star Wars so cool and unique is the Force, is the Jedi.
Yep.
When you do Rogue One, we're not going to have him because we're going to focus on that. That's cool. But when Episode 9 wraps and we have no I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll announce something by then. But right now, let's say Episode 9 ends, and we don't know what the future of anything is. Maybe Luke actually ends the Jedi, which probably won't happen. But let's say he's just like, you know what? Jedi are done. I am the last Jedi. It's over. I'm not continuing this anymore. So now we as the viewers are like, but Jedis are awesome. Jedi are awesome. Your hat says so as well. Like, Jedi are awesome. And the next film is Jabba the Hutt. Okay, cool. There's aliens. Someone will mention the Force inevitably, but there won't be a lightsaber. Or maybe it'll be about Luke. Maybe it'll be this. Maybe Jabba the Hutt's movie is the story about how Maz Kanata got that lightsaber. But anyway, it won't be used by Jedi. Then the next film is Boba Fett. It's not about Jedi either. Then the next film is Cad Bane. Not about Jedi. Then at what point do we say, "Hey guys, when are you going to throw some Jedi at us? Because we all missed the Jedi." Or do Jedi not ultimately, because of the power of these side characters, that the Jedi don't actually matter all that much? They are effectively the side story of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, well, I guess the side story point is kind of like a thing as to maybe what's coming, because the fact that we're getting these ideas of Rogue One with no Jedi whatsoever. Yeah, there was Darth Vader. He's a Sith, but still, so there was a lightsaber. But now this next Star Wars movie is called The Last Jedi, and now we got these announcements of all these movies about characters who are not Jedi whatsoever, and who really aren't that connected to Jedi. I mean, yeah, we're getting the Obi-Wan movie, and obviously he is a Jedi, so we'll get that point.
But sorry, but he is a Jedi. But at that point in the story, if it is not the flashback heavy one that you mentioned or anything like that, if it's just him on Tatooine, he can't really be a Jedi in front of anybody. You know what I mean? Like,
no, yeah, he's got to hide. So, like, yeah, it might be a case of him hiding the lightsaber, and you finally get him take out the lightsaber in like the end of the second act or something like that. So who knows? So, yeah, what that could really be, but yeah, it's gonna be hiding that point. But I guess the other standalone that they've semi-announced as well was the Yoda movie, which could be that focus into going back into the Jedi. But like altogether, to your point, is like that, like they've been sending us these messages about kind of pushing the Jedi to the side a little bit, and then focusing on this new line of like showing these other characters that are not Jedi and whatsoever, and just trying to expand the universe, even though, like you said, the Jedi are kind of like the hook and were the hook of the original trilogy, and even of course the prequel trilogy. Like they were the main thing, and the main, like, so many of the wonderful quotes that we know so well from Star Wars are so focused on the Jedi, right? Like, obviously not like all the Yoda lines, do or do not, there is no try, is very forced based, right? That line is very much intertwined with his character and understanding the Force. So yeah, it's interesting that they're just kind of pushing away from it, aside from this Obi-Wan movie and this possible Yoda movie
Okay,
as
so
well.
let's go into this Yoda movie a little bit more. So if they decide to go this route with Jabba the Hutt, Boba Fett, whatever, Force is depleted in the films. But then they say, hey, we're going to do this Yoda movie. And now Yoda, the only way you can do a Yoda movie is a prequel movie, which could be an Old Republic type movie.
Yeah.
So would you be more on board with a Yoda standalone film or Yoda just being in an Old Republic movie?
If I got those two choices, I think that something like the Old Republic would be far more interesting because um, one of the reasons that people seem to complain about these standalone movies is that even though I'm saying that we're getting expansions on these characters and whatnot, we're still getting these characters intertwined with events that are very, very familiar to us. If you take a Yoda movie and like rewind it back like 800 years or a little bit less or something like that, that goes into completely new territory that's not really been only really been talked about with like lines and stuff like that in the movies so far. So that would be literally taken to a different area where people would be like, oh, what is this, like Old Republic? Like this is so much different than the Star Wars that we know. That would finally be the door opening to people and understanding that this galaxy is a lot bigger than it is, and it will be showing you a whole lot more of its history and expanse history of what the Star Wars universe has.
Yeah, I would completely agree with you there. I would put him in an Old Republic film, not even because I think that I want to see an Old Republic film, not that I don't, just that's not necessarily why I would do that. I would put him there because this could give you your new saga. This is the new saga for Star Wars. Put him in this one, let this one grow. Now you could tell an infinite amount of stories taking place there. And then I've said it before, when that is all getting tired and we're all like, okay, let's move on, all of a sudden you could be like, guess who's coming back in episode 10? Old Ray, old Finn. You know, that I think that would really that is a way to keep the brand going and keeping it fresh as well because we've never gotten a film in that era. And as much as we all know what it is, we have no idea what this new Disney era of Lucasfilm has in store for us in that time frame.
Yeah, they're still holding their cards to the vest, like close to the vest, obviously for sure, because yeah, this new era of Disney film Star Wars movies is only two movies deep right now, right? We only know what the new stuff that they're trying to do with the Force Awakens and the stuff that they covered in the past. Like we know about their thoughts about everything else, but yeah, for the most part, it's like, hey, you're gonna find out with us what this new movies are gonna be. And I think we're gonna get a pretty good idea as to what it would be, what this new path that they're going on is with the Last Jedi, because the fact of the title, we're getting back to the title again, the Last Jedi. Like, are they really gonna take the Jedi and just push them aside and be like, hey, they're the past, we're going to the future and we're showing you something else, something new. You'll get some of that intertwined here and there with certain movies or certain stories, but for the most part, we're taking you a different direction. And whether it is taking what the Jedi were and just retooling it a little bit and calling them something else. Regardless, it seems like they're really focused on taking us a different way. Because I still remember when we were going into see the Force Awakens, you kept mentioning how the fact that like George Lucas had this very like specific way of telling his story in terms of introducing you to characters. Right, you meet every character through another character. Force Awakens put that away. Like for the most part, it was there until their introduction of Rey, and that was a little bit different. And Rogue One was completely different in a lot of ways. Like you just had
Oh, Rogue
characters
One
showing
through
up.
it. Rogue One through everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it threw that entire mold away completely. So yeah, it's about now again finding out what this new path that they're taking us on is, because it's again very interesting. And if I'm going back to that Jabba the Hutt movie, that's the thing that makes me maybe the most interested in terms of seeing what that movie could be like, because that's not an easy film to do, I don't think.
I really wanted to say like I think the Han Solo film will give us an idea of what to expect. But because of all of the nonsense behind the scenes that we really should not even really know about, but because of all of that stuff, who knows? I mean, I really think Ron Howard is going to be shooting and putting together the film that Lucasfilm wanted to make. I think that is going to be. So I think there is still a way where we look at the Han Solo film and be like, oh, that's what they want us. But I also think that's what Rogue One was. I think Rogue One was, for the most part, the film they wanted to give us. Now, it might not have been 100% what they wanted to give us because of all the reshoots and all that. It seems like Han Solo, they're doing even more than they did with the Rogue One, even though we heard that Rogue One was something like 60%, 40 to 60% reshot. It seems like Han Solo almost the entire thing. They had to cut out, what's the Michael K. Williams? They cut his character right. Yeah, they had to cut him out because scheduling conflicts. This seems like it's a lot bigger than the Rogue One reshoots. I don't think anybody got cut out from Rogue One because of scheduling at the end. They all said, no, scheduling, this was all part of it. This was all part of it. Han Solo seems like a lot more. So maybe Han Solo is our best bet to see what Lucasfilm has in store for us going forward. And then from there, the Obi-Wan film will be the next one. Because as much as The Last Jedi would be a good thing to see, I think this Rian Johnson film is going to be completely different from any other of the Star Wars films we are ever going to get in every respect. In his filmmaking techniques, storytelling, and structure. I think it's going to be completely different for that. And that's, credit to Lucasfilm. They let him make this film. But for the rest of them, the ones that they know aren't going to make $1 billion out of the gate, they have to micromanage those because it's such a big franchise. They can't allow it to stumble this early on.
Yeah, it's funny with those, bringing up like both Rogue One and Han Solo and their difficulties that they had in their post-production process and even like their production process with both those movies, and the fact that Last Jedi, like the biggest thing I think we've really heard about that was a problem, and it's not really even a problem that they control, was the passing of Carrie Fisher, right? And the fact that some things were likely retooled and had to be retooled for this movie with Carrie Fisher. Obviously, she shot all the stuff that she was supposed to shoot during the actual production for it, but as to that there's had to be something editing wise that they would have had to have changed because obviously because of this, Carrie Fisher's not going to be able to be in Episode 9. So there was the rumor about them shooting stuff that they might use for Episode 9, but I'm not really sure about that. But it's funny that we're talking about both Han Solo, and if we're going back to the superhero route, another movie that's had a lot of problems with their reshoots and getting actors back has been the Justice League, with this whole kerfuffle of Henry Cavill's mustache and all that. It's getting its own stories. But yeah, it's just interesting that they got to focus on these Han Solo and Rogue One movies, these standalone movies, because those are the ones that are opening the door for them later afterwards. Because unless they decide, hey, we will do Episode 10 3 years after Episode 9 or something like that, these are the ones that's going to have to carry them after Episode 9 is finished, after Episode 9 is out of theaters and everyone's seen it. So those are the ones that, are going to have to be the focus for Lucasfilm from here on out.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a yes or no. I'm going to give you a bunch of titles, yes or no, to wanting to see them. Ready? Yoda standalone.
Yes.
Old Republic.
Yes.
Jabba the Hutt.
Yes.
Salacious Scrum.
His own movie, I will say no.
Dexter Jetster.
Sorry, James, no.
Jar Jar Binks.
Wait. Can I go back with Dexter Jetster?
Yeah.
Can we do a Cheers type TV show with Dexter Jetster?
Would you be opposed to Dexter Jetster appearing? He won't appearing in Obi-Wan Kenobi film.
Obi-Wan Kenobi? I guess I wouldn't be opposed. That wouldn't be opposed. So it was made, I think, fairly obvious in Attack of the Clones that they had a previous working relationship and that they were friends and whatnot. So the fact that he would have maybe a Watto-ish type of scene like in Attack of the Clones with him seeing Obi-Wan again would be a good idea, I think. The fact that you'd go back to that character.
Could it be cool if the Obi-Wan film was about the Empire, like about an Inquisitor or even Vader hunting down Obi-Wan Kenobi. And the movie is actually about Obi-Wan Kenobi being hunted by Vader or an Inquisitor, and Dexter Jettster gets killed, and Obi-Wan goes to see him right before he dies, and there's a big heart-to-heart there. And we're like, what is happening? I think that could be a cool angle actually for the Obi-Wan Kenobi film to go, where it's not a story about Obi-Wan, it's a story about Obi-Wan being hunted in the time between Sith and X.
Yeah, I think being hunted storyline of it, I'd be down for that. I just don't like the idea of maybe Vader or any of the Inquisitors hunting Obi-Wan. The fact that they would have some type of knowledge as to where he is, or just the fact that they'd be close to meeting and or possibly meeting in this movie, because it seems just in general in A New Hope, it's those characters have not seen each other for a long time, and that just this implication that when Vader first comes onto the hangar, he's I have not felt this presence since, and ever since I watched that scene, I always get that visual that he's picturing himself on Mustafar and crawling and just trying to get to him after all of his limbs have been cut off. So the hunting idea I think is good. I don't particularly like the fact that if they were being hunted by the Empire or Vader specifically.
Well, no, but if it's Inquisitor, they would just know it's a Jedi. They don't have to know which Jedi they're after.
Okay. All right. Yeah. If it's an Inquisitor and if they take it that type of way, I might be happy with that. And then the Inquisitor just realizes that's Obi-Wan Kenobi just before he dies, and perhaps right after he kills Dexter Jettster. Roll tier.
I just think it'd be a cool way to bring a character like that back and not have to. But I don't know how much they want to put the prequel stuff in these movies, which is a huge fear of mine. Do not ignore what we have. Things are there. Dexter Jettster exists in the universe. Don't forget about him. Don't forget about Watto. Don't forget about these characters. You don't throw them in just to throw them in. But if you're making a movie and it makes complete sense to have someone in, maybe someone's hunting Obi-Wan and he needs Dexter's help for something, and he just goes just like Attack of the Clones. It's just little. I don't know where Dexter would be though. I don't know why Obi-Wan would go back to Coruscant. It'd be kind of hard. So maybe there's the excuse not to have him in it. But I think Obi-Wan could sneak in there and figure it out. But yeah.
Well, yeah, I haven't exactly read up gone to Wikipedia and read up Dexter Jettster's entire biography, but just my knowledge of him, especially in that Attack of the Clone scene, is that what we know about him is he works at a diner, he runs a diner and whatnot, but he also somehow has knowledge as to the darts and stuff like that. That to me opens up the idea of he was something else before he worked at the diner, that he knows something more about this type of stuff, and that he possibly worked in some type of munitions factory or something like that, right? He either designed weapons or he knows something more about it.
Yeah, so, I wouldn't mind learning more about that character. Like I said, I don't think we will, but I think him showing up in an Obi-Wan film could make a ton of sense.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
That's what I say. All right, let's wrap this thing up. Of all the rumored standalone films that we've been hearing about, excluding Obi-Wan and Han Solo, obviously, which one are you most excited for?
I will go back and say that the one I'm most excited for is because I have no idea what this movie is going to be, is Jabba the Hutt. I mean, you're not going to hear that, I guess, very often, but it's just an interesting idea of what this movie would be, who would direct it, who would produce it, who would be involved with this movie, and what this movie could be like. So that's the one that has me the most interested, because it's not a traditional, hey, this person should have gotten a Solo movie that you hear everywhere. It's Jabba the Hutt. Okay, this is interesting. This is a different idea.
Yeah, I think you can tell. I completely agree with you on Jabba the Hutt. I think it makes the most sense. I think it's a way to even grow the universe and make it larger and introduce some of the coolest characters we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And giving us a really unique, intriguing story. The issue, of course, is he doesn't speak basic. But hey, we all love to read. All right, Rob, this has been a lot of fun. Where can everybody find you at?
Yeah, so you can find me at Robert E. McDonald on both Twitter and Instagram. And I'm just going to plug real quick. There's a new app called Stardust. So if you guys look it up on your phone, it's just search Stardust. You'll find it. It's just basically this 30-second reaction app. So it's just quick. You watch something, you want to react to it, and just record your video, and then it goes right on there. It's really quick, really easy. It's really fun. So if you want to follow me on there, it's at Rob Mac, MAC.
Yeah, Erin just watched a bunch of your videos the other day. She kept getting notifications, and she didn't know what she was getting notifications for.
Oh
It was
yeah,
pretty fun.
I binged Defenders recently, so she probably kept getting
Yeah,
those reaction
so
updates.
she watched a bunch of them because, like Rob said, they are only 30 seconds. It's kind of cool. You get a 30-second quick review, essentially, of movie films. I think TV show, whatever.
Yeah.
Trailers. You've done trailer reactions before,
Hmm.
so it's really cool.
Yeah. Next time the Last Jedi trailer comes out, get on that app, record your reactions. I'll be doing that, and James, you should too.
I didn't freeze. That was a joke. All right, guys, you can find me at Petsafina. I am currently not on Stardust, but maybe that'll change. We don't know. I'm writing a new article right now, should be up in the next couple of days, about the DCEU for the Den of Nerds, because what in the world is going on over there? Every
Yeah.
movie, they're making every movie, and it sounds kind of cool. And then they're like, none of them are connected. Is that
Right now, it seems like Joker movie, green light. Green light. Is Joker in this movie? Green light.
yeah, which is
So,
unfortunate.
but yeah.
All right, guys, it's been a lot of fun. Let us know in the comments below what you think of a Jabba the Hutt film, what spin-offs you would like to see, which ones you want to stay far, far, far away from. Thanks a lot, guys, and may the force of others be with you.
Always.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.